So the first thing we're going to be talking about in this series is a concept called drop two chords. And drop two chords are essentially they're a system built into the guitar. They're a system of chords meant for jazz, but they have many uses beyond playing jazz as well. The reason I'm talking about this first is because on your quest to become a great improviser, you need to learn rhythm guitar. Your solo lines are based off of these shapes, and I'm going to talk specifically about how that works in another lesson. But for now, let's talk about what is a drop two chord and how to play it, how to find them on the guitar. So a drop two chord is when you take an arpeggio, so let's say like C major 7. So in C major 7, the arpeggio is C, E, G, B. So drop two means you take the second note from the top of the chord, so that's G in this case, and you bring it down to the bass. So instead of a nice closed piano voicing like this, C, E, G, B, now we have instead G, C, E, B, a more functionally convenient chord for the guitar. So here's how we're going to learn how to play them. So it starts by taking a very important diminished shape, this E flat diminished right here. And when you move it up 3 frets at a time, so 3 half steps at a time, you get the same chord in 4 different octaves. So E flat diminished, F sharp diminished, A diminished, and C diminished are all the same thing. They're all different combinations of the same 4 notes that keep repeating themselves. And now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how when you take these diminished voicings, if you move any of these 4 notes down a half step, then you get a new dominant chord. So for instance, if we take all 4 of these diminished voicings that we just talked about and we just move the F sharp down to F, we get 4 different inversions of the F7 chord. So there's one, there's the other, there's the third one, and there's the last one. So that's just one of the chords. Another one is if we take the A and we move it down to A flat, now we have 4 different inversions of the A flat 7 chord. So So technically there are only 3 diminished chords. There's this set that starts on E flat that we talked about. There's the next one that starts on E. And then there's the last one that starts on F. And once we go to the next fret, the whole thing has repeated itself. So if you really want to get down to practicing this correctly, then you find all the different chords inside of those other diminished sets. You're going to do that by using the same process we talked about when we were using this first set that started on the first fret on E flat, but you're going to apply that to the other chords and finding the other keys and the other inversions. So this is just one way to think about this. Another way to think about it is you can take these shapes and you practice them up and then coming back down, and then you can just move it up chromatically for the next set. So that was F7, now we're going to play F sharp 7. So and then next would be G7. moving them up and down. And a different way you can think about it, and all of these are effective ways to think about it, you just need to find what works for you and eventually practice these chords enough to make them part of your own experience. But another method is you think of it as, so let's go back to the F7 for instance, and we think about the F7 arpeggio. So on paper it would be F, A, C, E flat. So every time we move up one of these voicings, we are moving each chord tone up to the next one. So let's talk about what's on the fourth string here. So it's E flat is in the bass in this voicing. And then if you look at the arpeggio, it goes E flat and then the next note is F. So that's what the bass is in the next voicing. And then in order of the arpeggio, the note after F is A. So that's going to be the bass in the next one. And then lastly, it's going to end with C in the bass. And the same thing happens with all the other chord tones. So it goes like this on all the strings. And you just follow the combinations of notes. Now if you want to make these major 7 voicings, you just take the flat 7 and you move it back up to the major 7. So for instance, now we have 4 different inversions. This one's a little tricky, of the F major 7 chord. And that is how you make them major. If you want to make a minor, you just come from the dominant and you move the major third, which is A in this case, down to A flat, the minor third. So it's a minor chord. Now we have 4 different versions of F minor. And you do that for every key in every position. And that's about it for drop 2 chords. You just got to find all of them. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, be sure to subscribe and leave a comment in the comments section if you have any questions. Otherwise, have a great week and thanks for checking it out.